welcome back to Drunk Storytime with Quefish. I'm Quefish. It's been a week, y'all. So I'm going to be having some Fireball, but I'm also going to be having something called the Big Sipper. So no idea how it's going to be. It's one of those things that just kind of got put into the cart because I liked the way it looked or sounded. I've got some good crack on deck. Not only some, oh my god, come on. What the heck? Okay. It smells red. I've got some entries into some series, some crack series. I've found a few new ones. We're gonna have a fun night. That's not bad. That's not bad. So, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with my Fireball and my Big Sipper, which, let's face it, is gonna end up with Chambord in it by the end of the night. I'm anticipating doing quite a few videos. It's been a week of that one. So, I'll be back in a few minutes. So, I busted open the Fireball and remembered, wow. So I got myself some apple juice. So, anyway. It is the first week of school, and I have two kids who I am keeping home still for virtual schooling, and the schools actually have, they did the best they could when all of this bullshit started. They did. But they have their shit together now, and holy crap. Anyway, that's not why you're here, right? So, we are starting this evening with Abandon Hope, All Ye Who Enter Here by Fyre. There's going to be a few in this particular episode, I hope. We are starting with chapter 14, which is, I'm assuming it's siren sounds because it's Oooh-wee-wooooo. Give me a few more of these and I'll make all kinds of sounds. Alright, so the prompt for this one was behind the couch. This is ridiculous. Crowley shot a glare at him. You think I don't know that? On the far side of the sofa, something fell over with a crash. Smaller items bouncing and rattling across the floor. My chess set, Aziraphale moaned. Why the hell did you have to bring them here? I didn't, Crowley protested. They just show up. Aziraphale glowered at him. Show up, obviously. He leaned up to peer over the back of the couch, then shrank back down. Oh, they're hiding, okay. I knew you shouldn't have started watching that nonsense. Crowley made a face at him. How was I meant to know they're real? this dinosaur thing? The whole joke. The angel gave him a long, slow look. They're not. It is a televisual show. Fictional. Ha! Then how come they're here? And how come the old hide behind the sofa trick is protecting us? No object permanence, whatever the heck they are. Oh, dear Lord. Aziraphale pinched the bridge of his nose. That was what the children believed, dear boy. They're toys, controlled by people. Probably people in boxes with wheels. Crowley eyed him doubtfully. Looked pretty convincing to me. He leaned sideways, peering out around the edge of the couch at the trundling object. Okay, yeah, maybe bits of it looked very human. Specifically the toilet plunger. Are these Daleks? Toilet plunger at the front. Fine, he grumbled, scrambling onto his knees. But if they bump me off, I'm never going to stop saying I told you so. Aziraphale caught his arm. I'm not sure that's a good idea. Crowley glared at him. Clarely. I thought you said you didn't believe they were real. I don't, Aziraphale said, but you do. He rose and strode out from behind the couch, and before the thing could finish yelling its battle cry, there was a crunch of metal and a sad mechanical whirring. There we go. All finished. Crowley poked his head over the back of the couch and gaped. Aziraphale had cleanly ripped the top off their enemy. Blimey. Aziraphale waved the plunger at him. You see, my dear? Nothing we can't handle. No one exterminated it all. Crowley swung over the back of the couch, sliding to sit on it. Still think the couch helped. If you say so, dear. That's awesome. That's awesome. Apparently, based on the lore of old Who fans, that hiding behind a couch will protect you from Daleks. Not entirely sure that's true. But who knows? That was good. Okay. Now we are chapter 15, Foreshadowing. This week's prompt was Prophecies. Hist! Cassandra lifted her head from the bed. The room was dark but for the lamp flickering. Who's there? It's me. She rolled over and came nose to nose with a huge black snake. She squeaked and, without thinking, smacked the snake with a sandal. Ow! The snake said indignantly, recoiling. What was that for? She scrambled off the bed, holding the sandal out like a sword. You're a snake! Well, observational skills aren't lacking. It coiled onto her bed, tilting its head. You gonna smack me again? Are you going to bite me? It wrinkled its nose. Why would I do that? Because you're a snake. It made a hissing noise that was almost like laughter. Nah. It swayed, watching her. Wanted a word. A word. Which made her realize something she really should have noticed before. How are you talking? With my mouth. With my mouth. It replied. Listen, I've heard you got a knack, looking into the future and all that. Ah, she lowered the sandal. You won't believe me. You're talking to a conversational snake. It's a lot of things I believe. He's got a point. She fiddled with the sandal. How did you learn to talk? How did you learn to prophecy? Is that how that is conjugated? She winced. Ah. Yeah, that. It shifted, making itself comfortable. So, prophesy me. What big, exciting things do I have in store? Cassandra approached the bed. Can I touch you? It made a surprisingly human shrug for something that didn't have any shoulders. If you have to. Despite the urge to run away yelling about the bloody great snake on her bed, she reached out and pressed her hand to the thick black coils. And like the summer rains, the images came, thick and fast, and so much more than anyone she had ever touched before. And the words spilled out. A man on a tree. He wasn't your friend, but you were his. They raised his tree and it changes things. And always red and white together, everywhere, circling eddies on a pond, binary stars. The world rushed in, sharp and hard, moments in crystal clarity. You'll break his chains and set him free, but he won't see it. Over and over, dancing for him in a place you shouldn't be, raising your hands to your God. He won't see it until he does, and when he does, you'll burn. She wrenched her hand away, gasping, the heat of the flames too real. Which ones? She didn't know. The snake stared at her. She stared back, shaking. What a load of bollocks. She smacked him with her sandal again. One of the many Cassandra myths was that serpents whispered knowledge to her. The UPS man just banged on my door like he was cops looking for a murderer. Scared the shite out of me. Anyway. Whenever I hear Cassandra, I always think of the Doctor Who character. The skin. All right. Chapter. All right, so we will do one more in this video, and then we'll do another one. All right, so chapter 16, A Touch of the Divine. This week's prompt, you shall have no other gods before me. Surely, there would have been some side story to tell about Moses, or the golden calf. But don't feel you have to limit yourself to biblical history. Oh, this is all about the prompt. My bad. Okay. The pounding of the drums shook the earth. The women stamping and dancing, arms raised and bare in the firelight. Most of them were well into their cups and had begun eating, sniffing, or rubbing some kind of hallucinogens on themselves. Either way, in Crawley's opinion, it was one hell of a party. She threaded her way, only a little wobbly from plenty of good unwatered wine, through the throng, the place awash with excitement, lust, and passion. Above the trees, the moon was rising, bright and shiny as a silver coin. One of the women caught Crawley's arm, whirling her into the dance, which was a bit weird, truth be told. Whatever they'd been rubbing all over themselves, it was opening their mortal eyes a bit wider. "He's coming!" the women shouted exultantly. "The god!" "Course he is, love," Crawley shouted back over the drums. "Probably hangs around with mortals all the time. More often than not, some cheeky human who happened to look conveniently like one of the fancy statues used it as an excuse to put it about. There had been a few Zeus-alikes back in the day. Watching Lita try to explain why she'd been shagging a giant duck had been an interesting day. Can you really explain that, though? Not quite as interesting as a strapping Greek lad in a Grecian fluffy duck onesie getting shot in the ass as he swam back across the river. The woman's glittering eyes fixed on her suddenly with a lot more focus than someone who was as high as Orion should have had. "You're a newcomer." She cupped her hands around her mouth. "A newcomer! Ah, shit!" Crawley yelped as 12 overexcited humans grabbed at her, hoisting her above their heads. Like waves of limbs, she was passed from hand to hand towards a throne. Well, wasn't that great? Still, as she was deposited on a cushion at the foot of the throne, she had to admit it was probably the best seat in the house, even with women dabbing coal around her eyes and stringing flowers and leaves in her hair. She leaned sideways towards one of them. What am I doing here? The god welcomes all newcomers, the women whispered, then giggled. He'll bless you himself. Crawley sniggered. Of course he would. Get a whole stack of wild and drunk and horny women and they'd all be up for a good blessing. Those were mine, not the writer. As much as the next undersatisfied Roman woman. A long, hard, vigorous blessing. And from the prickle on her skin, the envy was picking up. So people wanted to be blessed, did they? Yeah. Well, all the better for her, getting them all stoked up with the sins. What the hell was the bugger doing to convince them that he was the genuine article? For appearance's sake, she let the fibula of her stola slip undone, slipping off her shoulder, almost bearing a ruby-tipped breast. The dancing and drumming continued until the moon was directly overhead, turning the less than clear clearing silver blue. The less than clear clearing silver blue. The sudden hush was as shocking as a thunderclap, and Crawley shifted on the cushion, peering around. The crowd opened up by the fire, revealing a white stone pathway to the throne, and, between one blink and the next, their god appeared, facing the flames. And it was definitely divine. Very much not human. Crawley stared as the crowd fell to their knees like wheat before the wind. It glowed. Definitely he. Broad-shouldered, a wine-dark chiton? I'm going to say chiton. Bearing sturdy legs and thick arms, silver and gold leaves wreathing his head. With a gesture of his hand, the crowd surged on him, touching, keening, and moaning. No, not just touching, more hands-on than that. Very hands-on. So much so that he was promptly very close off. Wine streamed down over his body, poured and splashed by his followers, licked from his skin. Holy crap. Crawley blinked stupidly. Right. Yes. No. Bad. Blessing bad from someone like that. Very bad. She tried to wriggle sideways, but was blocked by swaying women. Other way. Nope. Same. And the god turned, and like a lodestone, Crawley's eyes were drawn to. Well, in her defense, you could hardly miss the sodden great torpedo, spattered in wine, and clearly wet and thoroughly licked. She informed her neighbor. Her neighbor agreed as the god moved towards them. If she could just sober up in time, she could shift back and under the throne and away. But her brain was being stupid and staring at the thing that was coming towards her, bobbing, bit like Lita's duck. Duck. No, Dick. Dick's a funny one. Sweet Satan's left bollocks, if it was a newcomer, my lord, someone cried out as the god stroked himself, walking towards her. Ah, shit. Right, yeah, sober and under the throne, and she chewed her lips, staring at it. It had been a while. And yeah, okay, maybe he was radiating divine power, but the mood was contagious. Couldn't wade through so much horny without it rubbing off. And there it was, eye level, bobbing in front of her, and fuck it, she dived forward and wrapped her mouth around it, loosening her jaw a bit more than was humanly feasible to swallow it down. Oh my! Squeaked the god. Crawley yanked her head back in astonishment, looking up, and the buggering angel tarted up his Bacchus, came all over her face. That's awesome. I might die, but it has been a while. Gulp. Who hasn't been there, really? So that was chapters 14, 15, and 16 from Abandoned Hope, All Ye Who Enter Here by Fyre. And I will see you next time.